Hello, everybody. This is Pranali, also known as Lateriser 12, and this is my Gameweek 26 team selection video. A very good morning, afternoon, and evening to you guys. I hope you guys are doing well. We already did the pod on Tuesday and posted this amazing team selection video last night as well. So if you haven't checked it out, I recommend you to. And let's get into the swing of things. Just a reminder, this is a Friday deadline, so make sure you're making your transfers and moves, if any at all, this evening after the press conferences, today itself. Just a reminder, don't forget that. All right, lots to get into today in terms of the assistant manager chip. What moves am I making? What captaincy am I doing? Hint, hint, look at the thumbnail. Maybe that's the captain, maybe that's not. But I'm sitting at a rank where I feel like I don't want to sit on my horses and, play safe, aggressive, safe, passive FPL. I want to start forcing the issue a little. And if we fail, we fail. But I want to be, I've always been ambitious as an FPL manager and I want to continue doing that. So, yeah, let's get into the swing of things. Last week, I got 93 points. Nice 14 pointer from Emery. Out of all the results that were deserved slash undeserved, this little draw was a little undeserved. Liverpool were really, really good. We got a little lucky, but I do feel like Liverpool were lucky to get all wins against uh, Bournemouth and Wolves as well. So in the balance of play, things worked out. 3-pointer from Pickford, Salah and Trent bringing in the points, but everybody has them anyway. Isak Plank, people that did Isak to Watkins, kudos to you guys. We are about 13 points up on that move. And even if I took a hit for a move like that, I would have been 9 points up on the move. It is what it is. We move on. Clivert with a 5-pointer. Outside of that, Gabriel with a clean sheet and no one else did anything. I had Ahmad and Gakpo as injury problems, which is why I had Mikalenko come in and Visa come in. Visa scored 2 offside goals, which was a shame because he's been knocking on the door and he's been teasing and is points imminent. Shout out to Joe since a while. We were at 906k and now we are at 869k. So things are looking pretty decent. We want to get to 500k very, very quickly. And that means pushing the pedal and taking a few risks. Right, now first up, the decision that I want to talk about is the assistant manager chip and the options that are there for people that are playing it this week and it's the third week. So just in general, by the way, Neil, my favorite writer, did an excellent article on assistant manager analysis, and he analyzed all the assistant manager options played throughout the season, and there are some amazing tables, a few of which I have used on this video. Uh, Basically, discounting game week 1, there would have been 151 chances for a manager to win a table bonus this season had the assistant manager been in operation. Out of the 151 matches, about 18% have been won by the underdog, only 26% have been drawn by the underdog, and more than 50% have been lost by the underdog. So that's worth noting. Ignoring Southampton and Leicester, those percentages are at 21%. So if you're ignoring Southampton and Leicester, which are two of the worst teams, and you're not going to necessarily punt on them everywhere, even then the numbers are quite staggering, where you get a win at a 21% rate, a draw at a 30% rate, and a loss at a 48% rate. It's basically 50-50 in terms of snatching a bonus through a draw or a win, and a 50% chance of a loss. So, you know what Press was saying on the pod discussion that we had on Tuesday, where it's very, very likely you could get a 0 if you're going for the underdog manager, and you need to be okay with that. Just need to set your expectations in place when you're sort of doing that. Now, the three teams that I'm looking at are Crystal Palace, that's Glasner, McKenna with Ipswich, and Wolves with Pereira. Let's talk about the games one by one. The thing with Crystal Palace is there's a slight doubt about Eze's fitness and Wharton's fitness. This is what Glasner had to say post-match on the weekend. He said Ebbs is the same. In the last 4 weeks, he's had a few training sessions. He's a player who can solve one-on-one situations. He showed it after halftime, which is important against a team like Everton. He was a little unlucky with his finishes. It's important they get back into their best personal shape, and then they will contribute to the team's success. This when they are both in their best shape, they can help us, but they are not in their best shape. Adam cannot, after a long injury and having 60 minutes 5 days ago. This is why we decided not to start him. That said, they've had a week long period of rest and training. I'm expecting both to start, but I'm expecting like 60, 70 minutes from both. And Crystal Palace, as you know it, are playing against Fulham. Now, Crystal Palace in the last 5 games, away games especially, have had some impressive results. I think they beat Brighton. I think they beat United. So some nice away results, and they beat Leicester and West Ham, which are easy results. Even United is an easy result. So some impressive away performances. That said, Fulham just are coming off the back of convincing wins against Newcastle United and Nottingham Forest. They're the form team. When you're looking at expected data, Fulham are top 4, top 5 in the league, even though they are placed 8th. So they're an incredibly good team. So, for them not to lose, never mind draw, they not lose, you would need to get a little lucky. That said, out of all the 3 table bonus games that we have, that I'm considering at the moment, I'm not considering Ruud van Nistelrooy, even though the odds are saying so, because I do think like that Brentford have been playing good football. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if Brentford score a few against Leicester. That said, a lot of people are just going by instinct with Ruud. Why not? Home game, you never know. Now let's talk about Crystal Palace, Fulham versus Crystal Palace. So the Fulham are a form team. Great football. The hope that's what's been really working for them is that midfield partnership between Sanderberg and Lukic. They've been really, really good. And up front, my hope is that up front, Traore is a hot and cold. He's not very reliable. Jimenez also can have an off day. I'm hoping that Fulham have an off day. And Palace are closely matched to Fulham when it comes to team ability. And they do have some game changers in Eze and Mateta and Sar and Munoz who are capable of having incredible games. And they've had some stability as a team. So there is a chance you could snatch a draw or even like a 1-0 win. That's what I'm hoping for, like a 2-1 win. Like that would be the dream if you're going for a Glasner, which I wouldn't completely rule out. So that's my opinion. Again, close attention to be paid on how Eze and Wharton trained today and what the injury news looks like for Fulham, what the injury news looks like for Palace. But if Wharton and Eze have had a good week of training, I'm expecting 65-70 minutes after a full week's rest. I'm hoping that plays into their favor. Ipswich Town. This is the real high variance result optionality. In terms of Spurs could crumble, Spurs could be really good. So as a United fan, we lost to Spurs and we were terrible. But I just want to say, and I was sort of hinting about this on the podcast on Tuesday, but Spurs were quite miserable too. I don't want to sit on the fence with what I'm saying here. Spurs were quite bad too, even though they had like a whole bunch of players returning. They weren't great. They didn't impress me. We created a fair amount of chances, and if we had any sort of capability in the final third where we wouldn't panic, there would be a couple of goals or 3, but that's it. We don't have players and we're not very good. Ipswich are not very good either, but they do have. What I like is they do have a talisman in Delap who's in form. That's what I like about Palace also. They've got a talisman in Mateta who's in form. He's capable of getting a couple of chances and putting them at the back of the net. If I'm betting on Glasner against Marco Silva. So Ipswich have McKenna. And I spoke to my friend Ivan FPL Browser, shout out to him, about what he thinks about the game. And this is what he had to say. I'm duty bound to go for McKenna. Glasner doesn't excite me much. We tend to perform well against the bigger but inconsistent sides. And while Spurs have key players returning, they're still Spursy. We beat them in the reverse fixture and deservedly so. One important thing is we have a proper goalkeeper now. Muric has cost us a lot of points, so this helps. And McKenna is ex-Spurs, which adds spice to the occasion. Also worth noting that in the last 2 seasons, Ipswich went on crazy runs from the end of the Feb after tricky winters. Hopefully that starts now. He said Spurs will be favourites, of course, but as a bonus fixture, I see potential here. One thing that he said after this, which is what I think is spot on, is that Ange's uncompromising style should lend itself well to McKenna finding a tactical response. Now that's the pro. He did give a balanced opinion. He said there are a few concerns. Leaf and Morsi had minor injuries and they missed the last match, so watch out what happens there. He also said that Axel Tuanzebe, who's going to be suspended, is going to be a big miss for this game. And he said that Enciso is injured because he was really, really good. And I like that, in addition to Delap having Hutchinson and Enciso, who are like these game-changing players who are capable of finding moments of magic, they are not going to be playing, which is a big miss. So let's see what McKenna says in press conference. If he says that, because he did say that Enciso is not out for a long time. That's something to monitor. The pro for Spurs, though, they've had a full week of training. Spurs always tend to struggle a little when they've not had a full week of training, but with a full squad, and this is something Ange brought up in the post-match on the weekend also. With a full squad, when they get a long duration of time to train, they tend to do well. And they have got quality up front. They've got Son fit, Madison back, Tell is there. So, these things could play out in Spurs' favor. And the fact that they've had a full week of training, which they always tend to do. If it was at the back of Spurs not having their fit players or not having a full week's training, I would be much more convinced to go for McKenna. And then Wolves, I was really, really convinced about Wolves. I was not really, really convinced. I was thinking about a punt on Wolves because I think they've looked good. They gave Liverpool a run for the money in the second half as well. But they're playing the most informed league in the team and they're at home. That just makes it difficult. Unless Cunha pulls off something out of the bag, I don't see how Bournemouth lose this game. So I just say that it's likelier that a closer match team like Fulham and Palace is more likely to bring you a result than Bournemouth versus Wolves. Wolves are a form team though. They've been playing really well of late. I want to see what Akbadu's injury status is today, because if he's a loss, he's been really good in that Wolves backline. Because if you remember, not long ago they had to play Buno, Doherty, and another wing back as the three centre backs, and their injury problems are behind them. Totti's been back and really good, and Akbadu's back and he's a new signing and he's been really good as well. So that's what my opinion is. As things stand, I'm 70% likely to go Glasner. He's treated me, I believe in relationships in FPL also, and I like to play this game in a very sort of personal way. And you might think it's silly, but this is my team selection video, and I just want to tell you how my thinking is and be as brutally honest and transparent as I can. Glasner's done really well for me in the past as well. I have Munoz as well, so I'm invested in that game. It'd be nice to cheer a game where I think it will be closely contested for a long duration. Like, it'll be fun to watch that game. Whereas Ipswich versus Spurs, right? It could easily be like 2-0 Spurs in 20 minutes. Or Spurs could 2 Spurs. Like, I feel like it's a crazier game to predict, Ipswich versus Spurs. Whereas this is much closer as a tie, which is why I wanted to take a chance on Glasner and I hope to get lucky. Now, I was actually very, very unfairly bullish. I'll say that. Plus, if you're watching, I will say I was unfairly against West Ham, against Arteta, because I do feel like Arsenal's front three being Nwaneri, Trossard +1 does make them really, really weak. And they were terrible in the first 75 minutes against Leicester, but they did pick up the game in the last 15 minutes when Merino came on. West Ham were quite rubbish against Brentford last weekend. In the last first 15 minutes, West Ham conceded a ton of chances to Brentford in the first 15 minutes. But once Ferguson came on, and Potter did mention that he's going to manage his minutes, Paqueta's injured, which is a problem for West Ham. They had Kudus, Bowen, Ferguson, and Paqueta, which really is strong front four. Even though they're not having good team chemistry, it's team capable of moments of magic. That's why I don't see a world in which Arsenal loses. I probably see like a 1-0 or 2-0 win for Arsenal. That's why if somebody wants to go for Arteta, I will not be as anti it as I was on the pod on Tuesday, because the pod we do on Tuesday and our thoughts percolate after that and simmer in our head after that. So if you want to go Arteta, go for it. If you want to play safe, fair enough. Because with Arteta, there's a very low chance of a 0. With a Glasner, with a McKenna, there's a high chance of a 0. So that's where I am. I'm obviously sitting at 860k, and we are going to be ambitious with our moves and see what lands. And I normally don't feel good. I feel good about being lucky now. It's been a while. I think it might gonna happen. That's why I want to force the issue and positive manifestation. Let's go. All right. So these are the projected FPL points. I think we covered this at length. I just want to say that the projections at 8.5, 8, and 7.8 for Arteta, Glasner, Nistelrooy, and McKenna isn't that far away. So it's between 8.5 and 7.8, so it isn't that far away. So I think this comes down to your read of the football and back your read of the football in such a situation. I do believe that Wolves have a good fixture next week as well. So for those managers who are looking for a manager to stick with for 2 weeks, Pereira could be a pick. If you've played the triple captaincy in 25 and you're looking for an assistant manager for 2 weeks. So that's where we are. Now, I have injury problems, right? Like I said, and I have one free transfer. So if I make a move, it's probably going to be for a hit. And I have to sell either Ahmad, or I sell Gakpo, or I don't sell either and play Mikalenko against United. And the whole premise of this is I want to be ambitious as an FPL manager. Now, the Let's talk about Gakpo first. Uh, what did Slot say in his press conference yesterday? He said that he's close, but he said that he's not been in team training yet. Let's see what happens tomorrow, which is today, which is Friday, and then he'll decide. So I don't know if he'll get any more news today. But the one thing, and Gakpo's had amazing form at home, where he's got the highest goals per 90 rate at home amongst everybody in the league. I've got Wood, Haaland, and Jimenez after that. But the thing that is a little worrying for Gakpo for me is that they had the midweek game. They have a game against City on Sunday. Then they have a midweek game against Newcastle. Then they have a free midweek. Once they are then once after the free midweek, they've got a Champions League game, then the game against Southampton at home, and then the Champions League game again. And the thing is, you would hope that Gakpo, if he's playing, he plays the home game against Southampton. But he's probably first choice at the moment. And given that he's first choice, Slot does rotate his attackers. He thinks, I think that he would save him for the Champions League. So that's a little worrying thing. I'm not confident he gets a Southampton home game. And we don't know about his minutes against Manchester City as well. So I'm leaning towards selling one because I have both and I need one attacker at least fit. And the logic behind this is also I've got 8 players in play for Gameweek 29, which is Pickford, Gabriel, Palmer, Clivert, Boomer, Vissa, Mikolenko, and O'Shea. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And the problem is one of them is O'Shea who plays Forest. So do I even consider him as a player? And I've got 4 free transfers to Gameweek 29. One of them is going to be used for a manager transfer that I'm going to make. I'm not going to stick with Emery. I'm going to chase the upside. I'm going to chase a 20-pointer. So I've got 3 free transfers plus 8 players. So 8 plus 3 is 11 players, but that includes O'Shea. And if at all I'm looking at Haaland in the future, that might require a Palmer sale or a Trent sale or a Salah sale, right? So I think a hit is warranted because it's very likely, given my team structure, that I'm going to take a hit down the line anyway. And I mean taking a hit for somebody who's going to play in Game 29. And the very obvious right move to make is to go for to sell Ahmad and to go for Utara. He's got good fixtures for the next 5 or 6 weeks. You can't have much wrong there. It's a good pick. Bournemouth are in great form. Have a good entry point against Wolves at home. I think they've got away games against Brighton and Spurs. Let me just pull out the fixtures. I should have done that earlier, but let's just do it anyway. This is great content. Apologies, everybody. Let me just pull out the season ticker. I should have gotten a video. Wait, do I have a picture of the ticker below? I don't. Okay, anyway, I'm just going to read it out. Yeah, this is where I was. And the season ticker is in front of me. Bournemouth have Wolves at home, Brighton away, Spurs away, Brentford home in 29, Ipswich home in 30. It's just 5 really, really good fixtures. So I really, the right thing, not so stupid thing, is to get Utara in for Ahmad, play him for the next 5 weeks. His minutes look good, everything looks good. But I want to force the issue a little. I want to take a gamble on a few puns and a few differentials at the moment. And I really like Nkuku as a pun because while he has Aston Villa away this week, he's got Southampton at home and Leicester at home. I need to come really. Yeah. He's got Southampton at home and Leicester at home in the 2 weeks after this. And the fixture schedule isn't very tight, and Jackson is going to be out for a while. So I want to see how Chelsea do against Aston Villa because I can't go Ahmad to Nkuku straight up. I need money for it, which requires a Gakpo downgrade. So if I'm making a move first, it has to be a Gakpo downgrade, unless I do Ahmad to Utara, which is the obvious move. Now, a Gakpo downgrade, the 2 strikers that I'm considering are Cunha. Cunha's got a good bunch of fixtures where he's got Bournemouth away, Fulham home, Everton home, Southampton away, West Ham home. Great fixture in 29. And what I like is 2 home games against Fulham and Everton. The thing is how I'm convincing myself where I'm like, I'm okay getting away without going for Cunha's because the 3 games are against Bournemouth, Fulham and Everton. They're 3 decent defenses. They won't concede that many goals, but Cunha has been a monster who's gotten almost 21 starts. He's gotten 3 points, which is the full quota bonus, 9 times. It's insane. He's a bonus monster. So Cunha return almost is like A 4-point goal is like a 6-point or a 7-point goal because he does that well and he's a talisman and the Wolves have been playing well. But the fixtures are against Bournemouth, Fulham, and Everton, the next three, which aren't the best. The other option, which is my spider sense and diagonally sense, is Marmoush. Now, Marmoush has a poor entry point against Liverpool this week, but I do like the fact that City only have to focus in the league now. Yes, he's dodgy in terms of expected minutes and, he's not played with KDB, etc. But, there's this City strikers, I've had a good relationship with them. Haaland's done well for me in the past as well, except for this season where I punted him and didn't do well. What is the quality of Marmoush when I'm watching City that shines to me? Like, he seems very Suarez-ish. He seems like he's going to be an underlying data monster. He takes a shot at side. I don't know how much that's going to fly with Pep and whether he will Grealish him in terms of how he turned Grealish from such a good direct player into somebody who's constrained and not playing his best football. I hope he doesn't do that with Marmoush, who just looks so hungry, who makes some runs. He's on set pieces and free kicks. Again, he hit the bar with the free kick against Madrid. Quality as well. It's not that he's just selfish, he's quality as well. He reminds me so much of Suarez. And I feel like I want to jump early on quality like this at the risk of him and his minutes not being assured. Because the game after this for Marmoush is against Spurs away, which I think he will feature in. Because I think that game suits him. After that, you've got tough fixtures and dodgy minutes against Forest away, Brighton home, Leicester. And I'm not even sure he's going to play all these games. But I just want to take a chance because I feel like he could be an important player. I hope Haaland's fit because I think he's better with Haaland than without. Because Haaland occupies a defender or two, which opens up space for Marmoush. And I just think his quality is really, really good. So the illogical thing, just based on instinct and gut, is to do Gakpo to Marmoush. And then next week, see how Bournemouth play against Wolves. And I do either Amad to Utara or Amad to Nkuku. I could do Amad to Utara and make my life simple and get Marmoush in next week. But that rules out the Nkuku punt, and I don't get the time to scout Nkuku. I could just leave both of it and do play Mikalenko against United, but I don't want to do that. I want to force the issue. And I think Marmoush is, in any game, if he starts, capable of braces. I'm hoping Haaland is fit, which will make me more inclined to go for Marmoush. So we'll see what happens there. That's my transfer plans. I'll likely to do. And as for manager, I'm 75% likely to go for Glasner. So that's what my likely moves are. And one other thing is projected goal scored and CS odds. CS odds, Everton are right up there, I just want to say that. The projected goal score for Brentford are quite low, and our Arsenal are quite high, and Liverpool are quite high. But I'm just feeling that there's a very good chance based on how good the football for Brentford has been in the last 3 or 4 games and how poor Leicester were. I remember the final game against Everton. Leicester were terrible. They're capable of the crumble. The potential to crumble for that team is really, really high given the quality of the defenders they have played. And I feel like Brentford are the kind of astute, smart team that are capable of putting past 3 or 4 goals against them. I think they should have had a couple of goals against Spurs they didn't have. I thought they should have had 2 or 3 more goals against West Ham. They didn't have. So I feel like a high goal scoring result for Brentford is around the corner. I like the fact that they're playing under lights tonight. So have the option of, and I am chasing, right? I'm an ambitious FPL manager, so I think I'm going to be chasing. I'm hoping that City have a decent performance against Liverpool, and Salah doesn't go berserk. But I have Salah in place anyway, and I had to decide between Bumo and Vissa for captaincy. Bumo gets a lesser volume of chances, but he's by far a better finisher than Vissa, and he's on penalties and set pieces. Vissa gets a higher chunk of chances in the Brentford team, and I like the fact that I don't rate the CBs at Leicester, which is why I feel like I can chance on Vissa. I'm going to captain one of Bumo or Vissa. I'm at the moment chasing explosivity and going for Vissa because I think there's a chance that he gets a high volume of chances. He had 2 great chances against Spurs. He scored 2 offside goals against West Ham. So I feel like he's due and it's imminent and he's a greater differential. So there's a little bit of chasing now because I have to chase rank. I have to hit a week where Salah gets just an assist or a goal, doesn't do much, and Vissa gets 2 or 3 returns, and that makes me spike up, and that needs to get combined with Glasner snatching a 1-0 victory. I need like one of those under 500k Gameweek ranks to make a huge jump in rank, and there is something there for me in the last leg of the last third of the season. So I feel like forcing the issue. I'm an aggressive FPL manager. I've said that many times. So I think I'm going to be captaining Vissa likely, if not probably Boomer, but I think I'm going to be captaining Vissa, force the issue. take some risks. So that's where I am. We do a bunch of videos. Shout out to Scout and shout out to Neil, especially, who did that outstanding article on Assistant Manager. And shout out to Sleeper, who we do some exclusive videos on every week as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. You might think I'm silly, but I want to force the issue. And we'll see where we are. This is what I'm likely to do 70%, but my mind might change after the press conferences. If I'm making my move, what I'll do is, again, as always, I will, if any moves are made by me, I'll paste them on the comments in this video from the FPL Wire YouTube handle, and you can see what my moves are. Good luck, and I hope things work out. I'm hoping to get lucky. I really, really need it. And I'll see you on the other side. Take care, guys.